Well, welcome everybody. This is Father Ed Estock here.
Brother Michael.
Brother Dominic.
We are starting the episode of Church at Home for the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time. It's good to be with you, and we see, we don't know how long it's going to last, but Bello is in position for the beginning of the discussion. This weekend, we are the 31st Sunday. There's only 34 total, so we're coming to the end of the liturgical year. And we are considering an interesting teaching of Jesus about the leadership of the church and sincerity or lack thereof of sincerity in the leadership of the church. So
This really challenges the leadership and the inner circle of the faithful. So particularly we as priests, are confronted with these readings that challenge us particularly, so this reading for the gospel talks about you shall call nobody father, and then the priest's like, well, just kidding. This is Jesus went a little hyperbolic, because Jesus is really trying to challenge our comfortability and the honor that we have in our religious practice. And as priests, we have more temptation for that. More temptation to think, oh, I'm great. Everyone, look at me. Look how awesome I am. And then we actually use, instead of having our faith as a way to grow closer to the Lord and challenging our imperfections, we use our faith to bolster us up and actually kind of just sweep under the rug all of our sins and things that aren't as pretty. And all Christians can have that temptation. The more we grow in holiness, is that temptation of pride, the temptation to be Mr. Prim and Proper, and then look down on other people and lord our faith over other people.
we might distill it down to saying, the religious leaders of the time of Jesus, they were right. I think even Jesus says that. They were right. However, they unfortunately became self-righteous. And so they began to use the right for their own benefit. And I'm thinking of that expression, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So what in our culture today, what we do is, because those religious leaders are acting this way, that means that everything that they teach and believe must not be worth believing. And I think that's probably a balance we want to talk about today.
Right. Obviously, this gospel it can very easily be aimed at priests, at the church leadership. The way Jesus is going after the Pharisees, I think it would make a great gospel reflection at a priest retreat. It has a lot of great contemplations and reminders for us, and can lead us into some really important self-examination as priests. Are we acting like the Pharisees, who were technically religiously correct? And Jesus even says, listen to what they teach you, but then Jesus has a bone to pick with them because of their lack of humility and their self-righteousness. And in there, he talks about them tying up heavy burdens for the people and then not helping them. It's like shoving all this stuff off, or just throwing a bunch of expectations out there and then standing aloof, standing afar from them, and not helping with what they're instructing, not helping the people to live the teachings that they're sharing with them. And it's certainly, that is, as Father Dominic was saying, doing that, acting that way, can be an easy temptation for priests at times, and we certainly don't want to act that way, but it does apply to all of us, to all Christians, to all people of faith who are following the Lord. And I think what comes to mind most readily, perhaps, is struggling with family members, especially children, who have not picked up the practice of the faith, and in one way or another are not taking the baton and carrying it on to another generation. And there's such a temptation to really berate them and just hit them over the head with a Bible, as the expression goes. And I kind of liken that to tying up those heavy burdens and then doing nothing about it. And that's not how we want to respond to family, to friends who are not practicing the faith the way we would hope that they would. You don't want to become a burden to them. You certainly want to be forthright about your faith and be a good example. Just be a witness by the way you conduct yourself and the way you live your life and the way you live your faith. Always ready to respond when that child, that friend, whoever says, hey, why do you do this? Why is that important? Or they start going through a struggle or a tragedy in their own lives, and they say, oh, I have an antidote. I have something for that.
I mean, probably the greatest question that somebody else could ask out loud in our presence is, how am I ever going to get through this?
Anybody, not like our presence, but
no, right.
all of our presence.
In our family or whatever, just in their despair, in their being overwhelmed, like said, how am I going to do this? How is this possible? Is this what life is supposed to be? Or maybe they say, how did you get through? And so I would think that would be the best entree and the best opportunity for us to then share with others. If you want to know how I believe and how I have managed, I'm happy to tell you. It's this way. I can't tell you how to live. I can only share with you the truth and the path that I have walked. That's the most impressive witnessing we can offer to others. The temptation, as Father's saying, is to be convinced of how right we are in the practice of the faith, and then try to impose that rightness on people by indicating to them how wrong they are. And that is just, it's a non-starter, it's just not gonna work out. So I think Jesus's admonition against the Pharisees, he's saying, you should believe what the Pharisees believe, but you should not believe the way the Pharisees believe.
Yeah, and I think the temptation as practicing Catholics is to use our faith as again something that bolsters us, something that makes us righteous. And so all it is affirming what we're doing, and mirrored in the culture, people see religion as just something therapeutic, like optionally therapeutic. Like, I go to a masseuse once a week, and that's your religion. It's just a masseuse. It makes you feel good about yourself. And then the negative side of that is people on the outside of church say, oh, they're just making themselves feel good. They're just being hypocrites and not caring about anybody on the outside. And so our challenge as, the more, observant Christians is to not just display our faith as, that which lifts our spirits, and allows us to feel good, which it can. Our faith more so should be that which challenges us to improve, to face our sins, that which comforts us at our lowest, that which gives us, this deep sense of, faith, deep sense of peace, of joy, despite all of the difficulties that we go through in life. And so when we offer that to other people, that's way more attractive. To say, I'm a sinner, and I have pride. I have, name your sin. I have lust for the world, but Christ is the one who gives me my strength.
Yeah. So we are, at least this side of the communion rail, as we used to call it, on the clergy side, we're hearing the caution. We're hoping that by sharing, all of our temptations to maybe wrongly apply the rightness of our faith, and maybe it might apply to all of our lives, and our call to, we're all called to be a leader for someone else in the way of faith. So there's probably a better way to do it, and I would say I'd go with Jesus' way, and there's probably a worse way to do it, and I would say stay away from the Pharisees in your life. So hope that's none of us. But anyway, all right, take care.